Hey there, my name is Marc.
I'm Lewis.
And I'm Mike.
Thank you for joining us on our first ever Tesla Motors Club podcast. Today we have a lot of topics we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about the round steering wheel. We're going to talk about the 4680 batteries. We're going to talk about Russia, the matrix headlights, and a lot of more micro topics that we'll figure out as we go. We thank you for joining us, and we hope that you stay tuned for future podcasts.
Thanks for the introduction. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Marc.
Good to be here. Let's see what kind of fun we can have today.
I know it.
You know, I got a question for you guys. So I was out driving around the other day, and I'm here in Southern California, and we got this little tiny neighborhood, you might have heard about it, called Beverly Hills. And as I'm kind of cruising around, never heard of it. Got my Tesla, my Model 3 kind of hanging out. And the gas stations there, I saw an Arco gas station with $6.89 for a gallon of gas.
Yeah. And it's
now, granted, some of that's the neighborhood, but that kind of shocked me a little bit.
Yeah, that's one thing I don't miss. I got my Model 3 in 2020, and before that I had an Infiniti QX80, so I got like 12 miles to the gallon. And I was spending, like, in 2019, up in 2020, I was spending probably every week at least $86 a week in fuel. So now, and that was like $4 or whatever, because I had to put premium. So now, with it being up to $6, man, it would be ridiculous. So just having a Tesla, man, just not even having to worry about gas is just amazing.
Now, see, I moved up from an Audi A3, which got about 27 miles to the gallon, but it was premium, and it still was, $40, $50 a tank to fill it, which that got old in a hurry. What about you, Lewis? What'd you upgrade from?
So I had a 370Z, so it was also premium, which was unfortunate.
I hear a theme here, yeah.
Yeah, almost like the Infiniti, right? A lot of similarities there, but it's crazy because you used to have to always know, like, where the cheap gas station was, and you had in your neighborhood, you would plan like what you were gonna do. And then you got into the apps, like, oh, I need an app to tell me where, I don't know where anything is around here, or where's this cheap. And
did either of you guys ever do the Costco thing? Wait in line for an hour to save a nickel on gas?
No, but
oh man,
but the gas buddy thing, I would say, ooh, if I drove 8 miles, I could save 2 cents, and then I would by the time I drove there and back, I've used the savings just to get it. So.
Yeah, it's funny. We've just upgraded our apps. We've gone from the gasoline app now to where's the nearest charger? Where's the nearest supercharger?
Exactly.
Who's got the good rate right now on the kilowatts?
Yeah, where I live at, it's I live in a condo, so it's they just installed level 2, so it's 25 cents a kilowatt, just period, which is it's not bad for me.
It's actually not bad.
Not bad.
Yeah, I have to try to prioritize around solar. It's like, oh, am I going to be off grid or not, or when am I going to do that? So
now speaking of solar, that's an interesting segue. I've got Southern California Edison. That's who our prime power is, and they've got the TCO where you can charge off hours, and that's fine. But they have a deal, and they don't broadcast it very much, but it was very interesting from an EV point of view and carbon footprint. You can sign a deal with them, 50% or 100% of your power, certified green. They'll buy it from one of the local solar power plants or whatever. They charge you a little bit to deliver, and they give you credits. And it's worked out roughly to be about a $15 a month savings on my bill to have green power brought in. And it's given me the benefit of the low carbon footprint without having to go through the heartache and headache of the HOA and solar cells on my roof and all that good stuff. And I don't know, is this something that's being offered elsewhere? Or is this just like a Southern California feature? You guys have anything like that?
Not where I'm at. I'm in Austin, Texas. So it's Austin, right where Tesla's at, but it's Texas. So some of the benefits of solar are still somewhat limited by our energy providers. They do give rebates and a couple things like that for having solar. So I do have solar at home, but
Do they push the
they
rebates, or do you have to go dig for them? Because I had to
they
go dig for
actually
mine.
well, so I did my solar through Tesla, and they
Okay,
basically go, here's your rebates, like this is what you want to do. So Tesla did a great job of like guiding you through trying to get that done,
that's cool.
as kind of an incentive. But I would definitely say the cost of solar and the benefit of solar here is probably not as high as in California, because they do a lot of wonky things with like I'm not allowed to use my solar and like kind of be off grid. I have to sell
That's
my
true here
solar to
too.
the
Yeah,
I have to sell it to
that
them, and then they sell me power back, and it's like, but the rate they buy it from is different from what they charge you, so
Now, what you can do if you're a homeowner, I don't know about folks in condos because of some of the liability issues, but SCE will actually let you put a power wall in, and you can feed the power wall all day, and then come 4 o'clock, which is prime power, you can flip to using the power wall to run the house. It gets expensive though. The power wall is kind of pricey to put in.
power walls are pricey. Batteries are back ordered and delayed, so getting one can
Oh
be a
yeah.
challenge, for
Yeah, I
sure.
heard about that. They've
Um,
been backed up for a while.
yeah, we struggled with it because we had ordered both together, and then Tesla's like, well, I got mine installed, or we did our solar. Actually, the install happened during COVID, so that complicated things. It was,
Wow.
we ordered it, end of 2019, I think, and then it started going into 2020, and they ended up splitting our order off to get the solar installed before the power wall and all that because the batteries being back ordered.
Yeah.
But yeah, here in Austin, the energy there's no peak rates or anything like that. It's tiered
Interesting.
rates. So it doesn't matter when you use the power, it's how much power you use.
Right. So if you
So
use
after
X amount,
500
that's so much.
kilowatts, they charge you a
Yeah.
certain rate, and then 1,000 kilowatts, they charge you a certain rate. So it's not as benefit. There's not as much financial benefit to having it. But since our infrastructure has those fun problems of not working because it's cold, which we've had the last few years, um, that's kind of led into, well, there's an advantage to having Powerwall anyway. It's not necessarily going to
That's
be
right.
financial, but it's peace of mind of not having to throw out my freezer or
Right.
things like
Now,
that.
what about you, Mark? Being in a condo, how are the rules for power there? Is it shared power? Is it powered directly for you?
Yeah, so we have in this building. This building is probably. I moved in here. It was 2 years old. So, and I'm in North Hollywood. So, it's we have our own meter. So
Nice.
we were responsible for that, but we do have a I think they provide us water for free too, from some rules that they get.
Okay.
But as far but so in terms of solar, there's none here. I don't think anyone's ever brought that up. I went to them earlier on, like in 2019, asking about chargers because I was thinking of getting. 'Cause once the Cybertruck was announced, like, okay, that's what I want. I think it's a very hideous thing, but I love it. It's it's the beautiful thing, but it's anyway. So
My wife doesn't understand you because she doesn't get why anyone would want it. I think it's cool looking,
I think
but
it's so polarizing. Regardless. So anyway, I had went to the people in management and said, hey, can I get a charging system put in, or what it would cost? And said, well, just hold on. We're looking at getting some installed. So then they just installed some. But I was going to mention solar panels too, but I don't think. I think I'm the only one here who cares about those things. I don't think management, because it's owned by a
That makes it
conglomerate.
hard.
Yeah, it's owned by
Yeah.
a conglomerate, and they don't really care to get that deep in details about certain things. So
Is the charger considered shared then among everybody?
no,
There's-
no,
No, it's just for you?
they're all separate. They're separate. I think they insure. I think there's 40. I think they installed 40. So not every parking spot has one, but
That's pretty sweet.
each one is tied to your account. So they just have it. They have different cabinets on the floors, and it's just
Right.
tied into your account. So you pay them
Wow.
directly.
So that's interesting. Now, from an engineering point of view, this is something that I kind of roll around my head when I'm out running, is you've got to feed that building a certain amount of power. just on a normal day. Once you've tacked on 40 chargers, I'm wondering if they're working on the old oversubscribing method where they figure there's only going to be, a fifth in use at any one time. And if you tried to go a little higher, you're going to start getting flickering lights and
right.
I think
I'm the only. There used to be another Tesla guy. He had a Model Y here, but he actually moved back to San Fran. But I think I'm the only person here with a battery car. Now, that said, they have 4 chargers to a circuit, and it's 32 amps. And so then it's just, if myself and someone else got on the same circuit, it would be half. That? Yeah. And then if 4 people, it'd get down to like 8 amps or whatever.
Ooh.
So
yeah, now you're talking.
Be pleasant.
Yeah, charging. Right. So fortunately, I don't have that problem, but that's how the infrastructure is here, and that's how they're able to do that. But you're probably right; they're not looking at people at 40 of them being full at once.
That's a sizable investment on the capital expense side of the house.
I think NEC, right? It's normally about 80% load is what they kind of minimum require, and then I don't know. It'll depend on local codes there. It'd be interesting what their requirements are for like power to the building or the complex.
Well, this was something that we were talking about, another group I'm in. So I know, like my house here, it was built in '95, so it's a relatively new home. Well, I think it's relatively new.
In LA, it is.
But it's got a 100 amp main. That's our service, 100 amp. And we were very close to not be able to put in the 240 circuit, to charge because of, we've added a loft and we've added other stuff, and you have to account for all that in the panel. To put in a 200 amp service, which requires new cabling from the street to the home, new panel, is about $6,000 when it's all said and done. And even then, I was kind of talking to the electrician. I said, well, what about the street itself? Can the street really handle every home on this block having a 240 circuit? And he just kind of laughed, said, no, there's no way.
Exactly.
So it's good to be an early adopter, I guess.
I got a similar quote to run from where my meter to what my spot is. It would have been about $3,500, and most of that was in just the cabling to get it there.
Yeah.
The permits wasn't that bad.
But thick wire when you do that. Copper's expensive.
Yeah. But I don't mean to kind of change horses stream here, but you guys are and I know, Louis, you're getting a Plaid, right?
Correct. Yeah, I have a Model S.
And Mike, you have one too, right?
No, I have a 3.
Are you? Were you thinking?
I have a lowly 3.
So something that caught me by surprise. I was looking is that there's been some talk about the Model S having some vibration in the front end.
I've heard that. Yeah.
So that's like the flagship of the line, right? Am I wrong? The Plaid S, and so you're seeing these types of
you would think
issues right away. The Model 3, the Model 3 when it came out, it had some, it had its own share, but
we had bolts falling off the suspension in the back.
So you would think, and once Texas get built, it'll be the 3 and the Plaid in Fremont, right? They'll be the ones.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
So you would think that those types of issues would be kind of ironed out, any kind of vibration in the front. So, Louis, what do you think? Did that bother you when did you know about that before you placed the order? Or did you oh man,
I did. Yeah, I mean,
throwing the dice a little bit.
Honestly speaking, I mean, one, it's a ridiculous amount of money for a car, but I mean, so it is not a sound financial advice. Don't buy one unless you. I was shocked when my wife said, "Well, if you really want it," and I'm like, "Really? Like,
can I get that in writing?"
Yeah. So I mean, but she went with me, and she was on board. So yeah, I mean, I've had problems with probably every car that I've ever owned. There's always something, right? Noise,
Absolutely.
Road noise, vibrations,
Absolutely.
Whatever. They all have problems.
Turbos, transmissions, it's all.
Yeah.
So all in all, I kind of feel like, as a whole, Teslas tend to have fewer problems than a lot of other manufacturers. So I think that's a good thing. The S, certainly, I think part of the problem is it's a low volume vehicle. So they don't necessarily have as much of the kinks worked out. I mean, it's been around for a while, but they refreshed it and they've made changes. So I mean, who knows? Like half the forums, I've seen a number of posts where like, oh, I don't have any issue, and then other people are like, oh man, I've got tons of problems. So I think I'm rolling the dice. I'll see. I'll definitely be reporting what I find and what I have. I'm also, I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty being an engineer, so I'll have a lift in my garage. I'll lift it. I'll work on it. Do what I need to do to try to fix it if it happens. If Tesla's unable to provide under warranty, right? I don't want to.
Right.
Exactly.
Well,
don't want to mess that
let's
up.
be clear. Warranty's kind of flexible,
It's
I can fix that myself. I don't need to bother them.
Right.
Yeah, when I had my 2018, I just got rid of it to get the 2022 because of the market, but I never had any problems with it, man. Zero, no problems at all. I did get the recall about the trunk harness. Where
I just got that yesterday.
Yeah.
It just showed in the mail yesterday. Actually.
Well, I didn't get it in the mail. I saw it. I think read it, and then of course I go to the app and say, "We'll let you know when it's there."
They sent me a nice official letter from Tesla. Blah blah blah, bad cable, blah blah blah. We'll fix it at some point.
Yeah. But other than and I've seen it happen. Like when the trunk opens, I'll see the camera flicker off, and it would flicker back.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Early on, but
mine hasn't done that.
Yeah, but I thought it might have been just the way it was, but maybe it was because of that.
On wood when I do that.
I mean, my MacBook does that when I open and close the lid, right? Like that's.
I was just thinking,
that's a problem that just happens.
So
slam the door in the house hard enough, the light flickers.
Yeah. So I've had fun with it, and that's the reason why I jumped into the same model 2022 because I love the speed, I love everything about it. I was actually in the beta, so I sold the car, the beta's still on it, and I would love to get it switched over, but that's impossible, number one, and number two, it's literally impossible to keep a 99 or 100 here in LA with how people drive here. So I'll probably never see FSD Beta again. I'll never see it again.
I haven't even tried.
I can't.
There's tricks to it, though. I've seen on, Tesla Motor Club forums, there's tricks. People know all the little secrets on how to get that score higher. That means you don't drive the car, actually.
Exactly. It means you do a couple things, you park it, and then you just hope for the best. But it's, with the power under these cars, man, it's hard to just drive it. Now, I don't break the limit. Let me just say that. But, sometimes you need to get in front of someone. You might need to get in front of someone because of you misjudge something, and the power is there when you need it. So it's very hard to try to not tap into that because, that's one of the things about the Tesla,
I'll tell you bring that up, and I actually made that point to my wife because before she and I met, I had several pocket rockets that I've built over the years, but one in particular was just one of these crazy, stupid, fast, pro street type things, and you get addicted to that acceleration where you can just, bunny hop wherever you need to be on the street and not think twice about it. And when I got on the Tesla the first time, and I went out driving just around the block a little bit, and I punched it, it was kind of like, ooh, I remember this.
Instant. Yeah, it was instant. That's how I was when I first picked it up.
Heart. Be still.
Yeah, when I first picked it up, I was going to go on the interstate, and I was like, oh, let me just accelerate because I'm used to a big 7,000-pound SUV. Oh, let me accelerate.
Right. Kind of builds up.
Man, I almost lost the control. I did this, and I was like, wow. So that was the love affair from that point.
Yeah. Like I said, I've just got a little measly Model 3. I can only imagine what the Plaid or the upscale S.
I can imagine what the Plaid's going to be like 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. I mean, come on. You can't even.
That's crazy.
Well, when I get it, I'll let you know. You can come on down to Austin and give it a spin.
Man.
Yeah, but that means I have to go into Texas.
Oh.
First, Texas is a big state, so you don't want to. Let's not offend Texas, but
I used to work in Irving. So
what's funny is I have friends here that are from Texas, and they they're always complaining about the Californians and the New Yorkers, and I was like, I moved here from New York. I think the Californians are the main reason I enjoy living here. So
fair point.
But no, it's Austin's a great place.
What's the favorite thing on the Plaid? Now, this is your first Tesla, right, Louis, or am I wrong?
Yeah. I've driven a 3, and I've been in an S, but I've never driven an S. But this will be my first Tesla.
So what's from an
Wow.
engineer? From an engineer, what's the thing that like cranks your tractor? Like, okay, this is why people get it for this. I'm getting it because of this. Cause you think differently than what like I may think. You know.
Oh, come
To
on.
me, it's a
Engineers
toy.
think like other people.
I mean, yeah. First of all, on behalf of all nerds everywhere, we are people too.
I didn't say
Yes,
nerd.
thank you.
Um,
We're
but-
not another life
Education.
form.
I-
I mean,
I get what you're saying, Mark. I get you. I mean, to be honest, to me, it's kind of a really expensive toy almost, because I think about like gearheads. When I was young, I liked cars, but I didn't really know a lot about them, and I didn't quite get it until the first time I actually like worked on my own car and like replaced parts and like took it apart and understood it, and that's where you start getting like, oh, this is cool. So being someone that's really into electronics and computers and software, the Tesla is all of that combined. So whereas I have friends that they love working on their classics, and they're like, oh, I don't want a Tesla because I can't, even a modern car, I can't work on it, I can't do anything. And then I look at it and go, hey man, on Tesla forums here, on TMC, I see a guy that did his own custom. He cacked into the CAN bus, and he swapped out, like, there's a guy that replaced the yoke with this Model 3 steering wheel, and I'm like, that's amazing. Like, you can really
props
do
for
a
that.
lot of creative things. So that's probably why I'm most excited, is like, the thing that pushed me over was working on my current car. I was working on my car. I bought a lift, and I did all the stuff, and I was replacing the brake lines, and open up the transmission and did all that stuff, which I've never done before on a car. And then I thought about it and was looking at Teslas going, man, I could do so much more with that. So I think that's kind of why I went. And as far as the Plaid, I drive
It's
way
icing
too-
on the cake.
I like the speed. I'm hopefully won't die. Teslas are really safe, so that's an advantage.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to try to be careful. I'm not as young as I once was. I've definitely driven. I'm originally from Jersey, so I mean, I've driven some not so great ways. But I won't say that I've hit the governor before on a car. Like, I saw some guy. There was a Tesla group that I saw on Facebook, on the Plaid group, and this guy like posted about he did 165 on a highway, and he was complaining because they just raised the upper limit to 175, right, on the Plaids with the software update, and he was complaining, oh, I can't get there, it doesn't work. And people were like, dude, and he showed a picture and was like, dude, you're on a highway, you're in a 55, what are you doing? You're gonna kill somebody.
right.
And he's like, he was just brushing them off, like, oh, whatever. And I'm thinking, like, man, 20 years ago, that would have been me. I would have been like, I'm going fast. Now I'm like, I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to cause a problem. So I plan on taking mine to a track and like doing controlled high speed. But on the road, that power is nice, like Mike said.
Are you going? If you're going to take it to the track, are you going to look into some coilovers and some of the suspension mods? That seems to be really popular on TMC.
What's funny is I spent a lot of time on TMC looking at all these mods and all these cool things that people have been doing in their cars. I'm like, since I wasn't really a gearhead, I'm still learning a lot. So Mike, I'll probably be hitting you up on some lessons on some things. But like some of the stuff, I get it from an engineering standpoint, and some of it I'm like, I don't get it. Like, I look at it and people are like, oh, doesn't this look sick? And I'm like, does it? I don't understand, right? And there's things that, like, performance wise, it's like Teslas are unique to other cars. So there's been interesting things where making like rotation weight, like on the wheels and things like that, doesn't actually help acceleration because Tesla's computer locks torque. So like it's actually, it's going for friction, it's going for maximum friction to the road to get power out. So it's looking for certain torque ratios. So making it more efficient will help maybe your range. It's not actually going to give you any more power. You're limited to traction on the road, stuff like that. So I mean, I don't know. There's a whole world. TMC has all that info. There's a lot of great posts on it. So I definitely been picking people's brains and asking questions.
Yeah. First mod. Are you going to get the circular steering wheel? Or are you going to stay with the Knight Rider steering wheel? I mean, of course you've been thinking about this all night.
Somewhere. No. I mean, I messed with the yoke a bit when I went to the showroom. I think it'll be one of those things that it's very polarizing. I think I'll like it. I can imagine if I lived somewhere that had a lot of roundabouts, rotaries, whatever you want to call them, I'd probably hate it because that's probably the biggest problem, right? You're like doing this and then you're hitting a button and it's like how do you signal? But I think for like the Texas roads here, there's not a lot of sharp turns where I'm at. The highways are pretty. So I don't know. I don't think I'll mind it. But I'm definitely interested in maybe doing that mod where I could do it. And the fact that I could modify it, that's just sexy.
Because.
That's just like, oh, I want to be able to do that. Or even like adding stocks, right? Like you could add stocks to it and still keep the yoke if you wanted to. And I've seen a number of posts on the forums where people were like talking about wanting that.
I'm I don't venture into the S form. My pocket won't let me get into the S form. But since you've been in that. Has there been any conversations?
The water's great. Come on in.
Has there been any conversation where people are like, man, I wish like newcomers, like, hey, man, I wish it had a regular steering wheel. Do you see that whenever you frequent the posts?
I think so. I am not in a position to really like criticize Elon and his decisions because some of them are beyond me. And there's a reason he's worth $300 billion and I'm not. That being said, do I think they would sell more Model S's if they had and more Cybertrucks and more X's going forward if they had a normal steering wheel? Probably. If at least it was an option, they probably would sell more of them. Do I think that that's their concern? No. I don't think they need it to matter. Like Tesla's going to be fine without it. And again, there's aftermarkets. There's a whole industry popping up. There's tinkerers that are doing stuff. So if that is your one thing, what I would say is if your one reason to not get it is because of the yoke, wait 6 months, wait a year. There are already technically ones being sold. I don't really think any of them look good.
So my newsfeed showed something today where they either saw an option or they heard an option about round wheels being offered as an option. There's some scuttlebutt going on behind the scenes. There was a software thing.
Yeah, somebody leaked some kind of software picture with a radial button that was like, oh, you might be able to do a steering wheel, and it's like, okay. Do I think Elon would backpedal on that? Probably not. Even if he wanted to, he doesn't seem to be the type of man that would do that. But sticks to his guns. But
it's hard to say. But, I mean, he's busy with SpaceX right now, so
that's true. They might sneak it in while
he might delegate. He might delegate to someone and say, "Yeah, go have some fun."
Yeah, SpaceX is cool, man. It's cool how those rockets can just land themselves, man. Just to see that do that.
Isn't that amazing?
I mean, it's unbelievable.
I'm old enough to remember the moon landing. I mean, they took us out of class, big black and white TV, and we watched the moon landing. And to go from that to the shuttle, which was pretty awe-inspiring, to, SpaceX, rockets taking off and then landing, the stage landing itself at the end of the run. That's just pretty amazing.
Yeah,
It's incredible what they've been able to do.
That's spectacular engineering.
I'm not quite old enough to have seen the moon landing live. I've seen footage.
That's all right. That's all right.
But I have seen shuttle launches, and I saw some shuttle launches in the 80s and early 90s, and they were amazing. And I definitely, it's still in Texas, but Texas is a big place. It's quite a drive. Maybe when I get the Plaid, I'll go for a road trip down there and watch one of the launches. That would be pretty cool.
And it would be cool, yeah.
Well, we're actually I'm taking the Model 3 down into Arizona next month. And we're going to go down to Tombstone, and just outside of Tucson is a Minuteman missile silo.
Oh, wow.
It's a full silo. It's fully restored with the rocket deactivated, but you can take tours down into the ground, look at the rocket, look all around.
That's really
cool.
We're
gonna road trip to Tesla. We're gonna check out supercharging and how it works on a long run like that, and see some pretty cool Americana as we go along.
That does sound cool, yeah. What Mike? So Mike, if I can ask you a question, because you and
I
I
might have an
are
answer.
you and I are three buddies, so I can relate. I mean Lewis. I mean you of course, but Mike's
Yeah,
got a
Lewis is
three.
Lewis.
Yeah, I know. I'm like that in every group.
So Mike, you've had your three for a while, like since
I have.
So what like sometimes on the forums I see people come in and it seems like people want to try to defend the Model 3. Oh, I've had my Model 3, for X amount of years and it's still fantastic. I'm like, well, why do people feel the need to have to prove that? I know there's Tesla haters out there. We know that. But
Yes,
but in
run into a few of them.
but in California, in LA, they're like Priuses almost now. I mean, you see them everywhere, and all these people can't hate their car or think it's something wrong with it. So you being an OG Model 3 guy, have you had any issues with your car that you say, what, I wish I didn't have this car, or felt the need to defend it?
That's a qualified no. And what I mean by that is, by most accounts, the Model 3 I own, it's a 2019, has been a fabulous car. Kicks butt driving around, handles really well. The build quality is not bad. I mean, as far as the Model 3 goes. And I kind of think sometimes people forget where the Model 3 originated at. It was a cheap Tesla. It wasn't the X, it wasn't the S, it wasn't the Roadster, it was the cheap Tesla. And if you do cheap when you're used to building handmade cars, you lose a little bit in the translation. With that said, I think it does a very good job at what it is. It's an EV. It's a mass-produced electric vehicle that runs well, handles decently, holds together reasonably well. I mean, mine's a 2019. And there's virtually no squeaks or rattled in the car, which I can't say that about a lot of other cars I've had. Now, my complaint, and now granted this is a first world complaint, is it's not as refined as, let's say, my Audi was. There's things about my Audi I took for granted that when I first got to Tesla, it's kind of like, wow, what the hell? Why don't I have an automatic trunk opener? What's with the lighting, ambient lighting turned off because I didn't get the full premium package? I mean, little things like that every other car just has. You don't have to order as an option. But again, it was the cheap version. It was intended to learn how to make mass-produced EVs. So walking into that, you had to understand you were part of a very large-scale beta program. Your early adopter, this is kind of what you deal with. And in my mind, from what I've seen, it's evolved. The very newest Model 3s are actually pretty good. The Model Ys are really good. They're starting to bring out the features you would expect in a mid-tier luxury car. And I say mid-tier because some people say Tesla is a luxury car. I don't necessarily agree with that because it's not all about price. Again, we're back to this is an EV. This is not a traditional car. We pay a premium for that 3,000-pound battery pack in the floor. So, I'll cut some slack there. But there are other EVs coming on the market that I think are going to make Tesla step up their game. They're going to have to. And that excites me because that means my next Tesla, will probably be a very nice car.
Did you have any interest in the Cybertruck at all?
Zero. Absolutely zero. I'm more of a Rivian guy. I like the Rivian.
I was going to ask. That's my second question about the Rivian.
Yeah. And for that matter, even the Ford F-150
The Lightning.
electric.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, okay, it's not flashy, but you know what? It's pretty well built. It's got some really cool features to it. And I'm a geek. I'm kind of agnostic about it in the sense that it's an EV, check. It's well built, check. Goes fast, check. But like if I can power my house off my truck, yeah, that's a pretty cool feature. Now, there's some caveats to that they don't tell you up front. There's a kit you have to buy, and Ford will sell it to you, but you have to upgrade the house. You got to use their kit, and it's only going to run your house if you happen to be home to do it. So again, it's a like you said, Lewis, it's a toy, and it's a fabulous toy, to be clear.
For sure.
Yeah, but with the Cybertruck, you get to imagine that you're literally in Blade Runner. I mean, come on.
Whatever.
and Mark clearly is
when
very
the
interested in that.
Cybertruck when the Cybertruck rises up and the wheels fold under, then come talk.
They come talk to. Okay. All right. Okay.
That's a little Back to the Future. I mean, we said, said Blade Runner.
Yeah, that's a little, yeah.
Back to the Future was a little more optimistic.
Yeah, but all that said about the Cybertruck, I'm not, you keep seeing these leaks, and I'm sure you guys saw
strategic leaks.
Strategic. You probably seen the one recently where they were like out in Fremont, like working on it, and the drone was all close. I'm not sure if I think if that wasn't planned, but that's just me. I'm a tinfoil. But it seems like the Cybertruck is going through different. Like there's slow. It's like they're subtly changing things on it because it doesn't look like the day one Cybertruck. It's been the windshield wipers changed. It's evolving. And I'm not sure if it's evolving in the way that I remember it. The warm and fuzzy I got from it, from when I saw it from the launch day, it's slowly getting away from that because it looks the corners look a little different and some things look a little different.
Do you think that is scope creep or feature creep? Might be a better way to put it. The engineers as they're working on it. We can do this, we can do this, we can do this, and they keep kind of adding to it, kind of like what happened to the Model X.
I feel like they're dangling the carrot. I think, honestly, my impression is it's not going to be ready this year due to supply constraints.
I agree.
They're busy with other stuff.
I agree.
Whatever. So they're dangling these carrot leaks out to keep people interested and
keep the interest buzz going.
But they're just doing it for
you got the Rivian.
delays.
I mean, right there's 2 trucks you can go buy right now. Well, you can put your money down.
Put your name in.
Rivian is a beautiful vehicle. They've made 100 of them in a year. So I mean,
that's 100 more than Cybertruck. So
yeah. What about What about the Polestar? You guys care about the Polestar at all?
When I have to say, Polestar was my very close number 2 when I was looking at EVs. I almost went for the Polestar, and what kind of turned me away from the Polestar was a very pragmatic point of view. The Polestar was the first gen of their first EV, full EV, and I was a little concerned about that and part replacement if something bad were to happen. And I looked at the Model 3 and I said, the Model 3 has been produced for a while. There's a bazillion parts available. It's just a little bit of a comfort level there for me. So that was just enough to kind of tip me over. If you ask me in 2 years, it might be a different tip. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know. Polestar, I don't know. It was I worked on. I was a part of a focus group for one, and it just didn't crank my track. It didn't have. It wasn't the design. It looked a little. It was too. I don't know. It wasn't sporty enough. Because I'm the reason. The one thing I like about the
Volvo.
3. Yeah, that's kind of what it is.
What I mean? Volvo's a great machine.
It is.
But it's a Volvo.
Yeah.
It's an angular Volvo.
Yeah. So, that I was like, nah, that's not going to happen. But, it was interesting, the design of it. I can't remember all the things, and some things I'm not supposed to say, but it was interesting how it came about. But at the end of the day, it's the styling that kind of factors in for me. And so the 3 was.
I love the styling of the 3. I like the S better, but the 3, I can live with the 3.
It's a good-looking car. Yeah, it's a good-looking car. It's definitely the weird thing is, it's crazy to me how ugly so many hybrids and EVs have been. And part of it is they're going for coefficient drag, and it's easier to make something that isn't. It's hard to make something that's sexy and efficient. That's what makes engineering hard. But I mean, some of them, it's just why would you, I never would have purchased a Prius. I'm that's the ugliest darn, why would you want to own that? Lots of people don't maybe think they're great. That's fine.
It's gotten better.
I remember, when I bought my Z, I went shopping. I went to all the places, and I'm I want a sports car roughly in this price range. I can't afford a GTR. I'm looking for, something that's, nice, maybe a very low end Porsche or whatever. And it's what looks sexy, and there were so many ugly cars, I couldn't believe it. But it's one thing that I think Tesla, does a great job with, where, they're not, the S could be updated more, and they're updating it some more. They just did it. The
It's
X,
still pretty clean
updated.
design.
It's almost timeless. It's not really timeless because it's not been long enough,
I mean,
but it has held up really well for the time that it's been
yeah.
around.
I mean,
with
my
that design.
father-in-law's got a 2015 S, and it's still a gorgeous looking car.
Absolutely.
Even 2015, after all these years, it's still a great looking car.
Like some of the others though, it's like, oh my, like I don't get it. Like even looking at like Lucids, and like look at some of that, it's just like clearly I don't have the aesthetic of their target market because I'm just like I don't get it, man. They have some nice features. They
Now,
have cool
okay,
features, but
so let me ask you guys this: Cadillac, of all people,
hmm
have got their new EV coming out, and I have to say, to me, it's a very good looking car.
I don't think I've seen that one. I don't think I've seen the EV from Cadillac.
Yeah.
Take a look at that.
Is there did they give it is there a name for it, a code name for it?
They do. I'll look it up so I don't ruin it.
Is the
Like
Lyric or Lyric?
lyric is
Yeah.
what I've
Okay,
heard.
yeah.
Okay.
And from my point of view, it's got the nice angular look. The grill's kind of weird, but I can get over that.
It's not bad if you want an SUV. It's
But
not
what I like,
ugly.
what I like though is that sport back. It's got the sport back look to it that I really like on
hmm
the car.
Yeah,
It's not as
like
smooth as an S. It doesn't have that really graceful look that the S has, but it's more of a crossover
it's like
SUV
a
type
crossover.
look.
Yeah,
Yeah,
SUV. Yeah,
it's
it's not a
not
bad
bad.
looking car.
And I'm surprised to see it from Cadillac, of all people.
Yeah, I think my biggest issue with most of the other brands, though, a lot of other automakers, is that it's still a traditional car in the sense of, things like over-the-air updates and new features and enhancements and retrofits and all those things. Like most companies don't do that. And that's what, for again, being the geek and being somebody
Right,
that
right.
views it as a computer, a tech piece of technology that'll evolve, like Tesla has that in spades. They're a software company, not a car company. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Well,
Whereas like
it's like my phone is. It's really about software. It's not the hardware. It's all about the software on
correct.
the phone.
So unless the other traditional auto manufacturers get that, I'm not going to be enticed to buy their EVs.
I think Ford's getting it.
I
Ford's
I
making a
mean,
lot of the right noise. We'll
okay,
see what
yeah, I
happens
mean,
in the
and
long run.
yeah, there's definitely a lot of buzz with the Lightning. So there's
Well,
definitely a lot of
I was
buzz
talking
there.
more about the Mach-E. I mean,
Oh,
Ford
the
has already
Mach-E,
said
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're
That's
already
that's
doing
fair.
over-the-air updates with the Mach-E, and
That's
they said
fair.
straight up they're borrowing ideas from Tesla.
Oh, they
They
did.
have to.
Yeah, yeah, they said straight up. We're using some of the same ideas we got from Tesla.
Now, let me ask you this question, Mike. If the Mach E was out when the Model 3 was out, when you were thinking about it, would you
No,
have?
no. So I saw the Mach-E when it was unveiled at the Los Angeles Car Show, and I said then I didn't really like the look of it, and they had it in grabber blue, and to this day I don't think that's the right color for the car. I saw one recently in red, which I actually liked a lot. I still don't know if I would actually pick a Mach-E over my Model 3. And it's just kind of the Mach-E in my mind is just kind of, I don't know, bulky looking. And I kind of like the smoother lines of my Model 3. It's a very personal thing.
Agree. I don't know. It's a Ford, so I mean, nothing wrong with Fords. Some of my best friends have Fords, but uh, you know,
Found on
Harsh.
road. What was the old? No, I'm just kidding.
Uh,
We won't go there. We won't go there.
well, you say that, but yeah, I'll give Ford props on a couple things. So they're working really, really hard on doing their charging just like Tesla, where it's plug and go.
hmm
You know, the charging system knows the car, it knows who you are, knows you're good for the cash, and you just charge it. You don't have to worry about it. In my mind, that's a smart way to do it. And if you're going to borrow any idea from Tesla, that's probably the one to borrow.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the modern, all of the big legacy car companies for the most part are modernizing rapidly because Tesla has like shook the market, right? It's
They were a disruptor.
But
Yeah.
but do you think those guys? Do you think because they have deep pockets in oil, right? I mean, so now they're trying to. I mean, EVs is the way, the truth, and the life, right? That's just where we're kind of going. So, you know, to me it seems like they were like, okay, we need to go this route, but geez, we got all this technology and R&D and
Now you sound like Toyota. That's exactly what Toyota is sounding like.
yeah. So to me it would seem like, now we go in here because one thing that I think America is behind on from like Europe and these other places is the charging network. The charging network isn't fully established, and I think the layman is like, you know what, I want to get an EV, but I'm scared that I can't get someplace to it, and because I don't think this country promotes enough about, like, there's all these Volta and all these new places popping up that are around the country. I think most people, my opinion, is that the reason why they don't jump on EVs more is because they're just afraid of the range anxiety, and they're afraid that, if I go to my favorite place up in Kansas, I'm not going to be able to charge it. And I think the charging infrastructure here could be a lot better to invite more people to get an EV.
I think that's part of it, but I don't think that's all of it. And I say that because I have a house with 4 women in it. All right, I've got 3 daughters and my wife, and they take a different view of charging than like you or I or Lewis would take. So the superchargers tend to be well lit, heavily trafficked areas. It even at night, it's not a bad place to be. I've used some of the EVgo chargers, which are some of their older facilities, to be sure. I'm not sure I want to be there in the daytime, much less at night. And there's no way in hell my wife would want to be there at any time. The charger is in the furthest place away on the parking lot. It's dark at night. It's not well lit. I don't care how easy it is to use. If you don't feel safe, when a person goes into a gas station, they're typically well lit. There's somebody there, keep an eye on the pumps. It's a very different experience than what I've had with some of the other charging stations I've been at. And I think until we can upgrade that.
It's a fair point.
That's fair. I think that's a really good point. I was really excited, so I will give some mad props to Texas folks. I know we digged on them a little bit earlier. Buc-ee's, if you've never been to Buc-ee's, fantastic convenience store gas station chain throughout Texas.
Okay.
I was so excited that they announced some kind of thing. They're going to have EV charging. I think they're going to have charging with Teslas coming. Which
Shell's doing the same thing.
This is a chain that like they have like 100+ pumps at a place. So it's like you go off the highway, literally as far as you can see, there's pumps. The bathrooms, there's like 50 urinals. It's crazy. They're just, it's Texas. Everything's big, right?
Everything's big. All right.
Everything's big. And so I was really excited that they're gonna have that, a Tesla charging there. And I agree, safety is a concern. But I think there's also though the whole notion of how long does it take to charge? Because right, you go to a gas station, you're there for 2 minutes. You got to swipe your credit card or you tap your phone and you whatever. It's pretty quick. Getting into the mindset of, well, if you're just doing your day-to-day local commute, you're not charging anywhere. You're charging at your house most of the time, or you're charging at work. A lot of companies have started putting, those types of things. When you're going on a road trip, though, you start going, oh man, I need to charge when we go to eat somewhere or something else, because there's a lot of fear around like that timing. So I definitely think that that's another factor where, gas is just like, oh, you get some gas, I'm done. So I don't know. Something to consider. I think their faster charging is a good thing, and there's been a lot of tech coming out with that. Especially, I will say some of the other companies are pushing. They're claiming they're going to do, faster charging. Tesla's rumored. I think they're going to be bumping it up, maybe. I don't know. I'm not confident that they are. Just looking at their charge ports and some of the other stuff that they have, I'm not sure that they can handle it. But there is rumors that it may increase, so I think that's another factor. It's not just I agree, safety is a key, especially for certain demographics. It's one of those things, that men generally don't have to worry as much about. still worry about it, depending on where you are.
Well, you
As
know,
you said, but
well, Louis, if you went to these little crazy places, with your fancy new matrix headlights that you waited your reservation on, then you shouldn't have any problems. I mean, let's just keep it real here. Let's just bring the pink elephant into the room. You got your fancy new matrix headlights. Mike and I got our old standard, regular
right.
3 headlights.
LED headlight.
You know what I'm saying? So it shouldn't be a
LEDs
problem.
are so last year.
Oh, I know.
Right, I'm saying. So, I mean, you shouldn't matter where you go. Like, oh, babe, I got these fancy new matrix headlights. Watch this, and then you're done.
Sure. So so basically, what Marc's teasing about here, right? We've got, so those that don't know, there's I believe the Model Y and Model 3, the newer ones, have the nice, sexy matrix headlights, right? I think the newer 3s do. Originally, they didn't. The Model Ys, almost certainly, they all have the matrix LED headlights. And there are these, if you haven't seen, there's like pictures of it. They're programmable headlights. They're very bright, but they're smart. They've got cameras in them and sensors. And what they can do is they can see oncoming cars. So like that whole, my high beams and auto high beams people complain about, it's a lot better with matrix headlights. But you can do all kinds of stupid, silly things. Like you can program them to display images. Like there was one where they wrote Tesla on the wall.
I saw that. That was part of the holiday update. If you had the right headlight.
Exactly. So it's just a really cool technology that the mass market Teslas are now all getting. And there's been a lot of complaints, because hey, people getting those Model S's, those Model X's, we're spending a lot of money on cars. Why do we have headlights that don't have these features? And also, has generally been reported, has been not as bright, right? People are looking at it going like, oh, my Audi has much better headlights. I think Audi actually was probably the first car with matrix headlights, or one of the earliest.
So the funny thing about that,
mm-hmm.
my wife with her hybrid, her Pacifica van hybrid, she gets in the Tesla for the first time at night, and she comes back, she goes, why don't I have headlights like this? That was the first thing she said, because the headlights on the Pacifica are garbage. They are terrible. And people notice something like that helps them at night where they can see and they feel safer. And
absolutely, and it avoids accidents. You have animals on the street and other things. It's
we got
it's definitely
kids and skateboards and bicycles and all kinds of stuff in the way.
So I mean, in my mind, so I think it's important. The big news around this topic right now is that the NHTSA just approved.
Yep, I read that.
They approved them. So people were like, "Ooh, they're finally." Sorry, say again.
Just a couple days ago.
It was literally this week. This week. They just approved them. So what does that mean? Well, basically, the cars have already had them, but they're still limited in some of their functionality, which is software controlled. And now they're able to add some of the features, some of the functionality, enable them.
So now we're back
to
over-the-air updates, yeah.
Over-the-air updates again. And the rumor mill for months has been, Model X's are going to get these. There was a leaked photo out of Taiwan. There was this whole show, who was it, an intentional leak? Who knows? It didn't seem like it because they got shut down pretty quick. They pulled the photos and they did all kinds of stuff. But there's been a rumor mill for a while, like when's Model S getting these new headlights? There was talk around retrofits probably wouldn't be possible because there's different wiring harnesses and some other stuff. So personally, I ordered a Model S Plaid a few months ago, and I said, ooh, these new headlights might be coming. I put mine on hold. So I'm waiting. It actually leaked also this week. I was reading on TMC forums that supposedly the production line shut down in Fremont, that they actually are doing a changeover for Model S. This is not, I can't confirm this. I don't work there, and if I did work there, I couldn't tell you. And I don't know anyone that works there that I've talked to this. So this is rumor mill, but supposedly the production lines have shut down and they're now changing over. So new Model S's coming off the line in the next week, 2 weeks, will potentially have these new headlights. And the Model S and the Model X lines are basically the same line, so they should also potentially be getting these new headlights. But again, I don't know that for sure. So yeah, I put mine on hold. I'm waiting to see them come off. Somebody posted on. I wish I had their name. I'd do a shout out. Somebody posted saying that Supposedly there's some Plaids that are still in inventory, so don't order your Plaid immediately. So I haven't taken it off hold yet because I want to actually see like, oh, Plaid deliveries are going through. But anyway, so I will hopefully have a Plaid in the next month or so, depending on how the all that stuff happens. Might take 2 months. But anyway, so yeah, new headlights just approved, rumored to be going into S and possibly X this week. Should be doing changeover. We'll see what happens. I'll be the first to talk that up when it happens. So I mean, I don't know. To me, that was an important feature to wait for. I don't know. There was a lot of debate on the forums about that.
Good debate.
Mark?
Good debate. Or
I mean, the problem with Tesla is they're always improving things, right? And that's double-edged
right.
sword. That's a great thing. I love Tesla because they're improving things. Traditional automakers, they do those yearly updates. The negative is they're always improving things. So if you want to wait for everything, you will never buy a car, right?
That's absolutely true.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like with any of your devices, your phone, your computer. You just got to pull the trigger, man. Just buy the darn thing. So anyway, for me, the headlights were I'm gonna wait. I saw a number of people that said I want the speed, I want the Plaid now, I will not wait. And I think that's a fair argument.
Okay. I mean, it's up to them.
Yeah. But yeah, there are other features that maybe people want to wait for. The rumor mill on TMC is always flying. There's always new stuff. So Mike, you have a Model 3, and Mark, you have a Y. Is that or you have an S?
A 3.
You got a 3. Okay, you got a 3.
I have an S.
But you had an
Lewis,
S.
Lewis, you're the only one that's had the S. Okay.
I'm the only S. Well, I'm not. I'm not an S yet. I'm an S in waiting.
I'm already trying to figure out in my head how we can retrofit Matrix headlights into my 3.
Well, you can always upgrade to a new 3.
That's right.
Or a Y.
Where's the fun in that? I mean, my poor neighbors. They saw this. They saw the Model 3 show up in the driveway, and like a week after it shows up, I got the front end apart, the wheels off on the front because I'm hacking the headlights or the fog lights into the car. And they're going, what are you doing? It's a brand new car. Yeah, but it doesn't have everything I want.
Exactly.
Now, how far would you go with that, right? Like there's the 4680 batteries coming out and a whole new battery pack design, structural.
So,
that'd be pretty hard to hack.
funny you should ask that question, because I was actually digging around trying to figure out if I could bring in a long range battery to my standard range plus and what would be involved.
Didn't Rich Rebuilds do that? Didn't he drop the battery?
He did something like that. But again, it's my wheels go constantly. It's kind of like, how can I take this square peg and put it into this round hole over here? I'm not big about no user serviceable parts. Don't give me that.
Right.
Oh, I mean the court cases are in, right? We get to do what we want, right?
Right to repair.
We won that
right to repair.
So yeah, right to repair is fantastic. Thanks, lobbyists that were for that. But yeah, I mean, I guess the new battery cells though, part of the problem, like, because I thought about that too, like, do if I want to do a battery swap, oh, that's $20,000. Like, do I want to go somewhere? I used to do electrical. I could probably do that. The problem with the 4680s, or I guess it's the good thing about them, is they're structural, so they actually impact the weight of the car, and they change some of the framing and some like how the actual car structure. I'm not sure that's a retrofit. Like that's a retrofit that requires like some saws and some some welding. How's your welding? So I mean, I don't know, but I would. I'm sure it's better than mine. I don't know though. So that might be something I would consider waiting for if it was me. But at the same time, it's like, when is that going to happen? Is that going to be? We don't know if that's a month. That could be 2 years, right?
Well,
like who knows what's going to happen?
And so here, let's throw something into that conversation that's really going to stir the pot. So you've got those new cells coming out, but Tesla's actually looking at these older technology of using iron because it's more readily available. It's cheaper. It doesn't have the energy density, but it's cheaper. And they're not beholden to Russia, for example, or China, for the raw materials they need. They're not beholden as much.
Sure.
So which way are they going to go?
Yeah.
Hard to say.
So yeah, I didn't know Russia played that kind of deal and things like that. That's news to me. in terms of the battery chemistry.
Yeah. So Russia, there's two things that have been in the news in the last week with the whole thing in the Ukraine, and that is Russia is the major producer for nickel and palladium. And nickel, a lot of people know, they're part of your batteries. They've been part of batteries for years, but palladium is one of those elements that people just don't think about. It turns out it's in your catalytic converter. It's a key element in your catalytic converter. So all your ICE cars out there use palladium. They use a lot of it, actually. And the thing that kind of really drove the point home is November last year, it was $1,600 an ounce for palladium. Okay. As of this week on Wednesday, it was $2,400 an ounce for palladium.
Oh, wow.
Which adds roughly $200 per car. And if bad things happen in the next couple of weeks, you can only see that go up further.
Because there's already
where were you when I was day trading? I could have made a bundle on that one.
And there's already supply shortages already of other stuff. So, geez Louise, man.
Yeah, I mean, our EVs are globally made, without a doubt. Materials sourced from around the world, and things that happen elsewhere directly impact our EVs in some very interesting ways.
Yeah, that totally blew my mind. I had no idea that they were that involved in things that would filter down to something like that.
So, think about this. Russia's actually got some very large manufacturing facilities for cars. Stellantis, I think that's how you say it, AK Chrysler, or whoever, Fiat, Volkswagen. They both have huge facilities in Russia. Russia actually imports, the number I read, I think it was Inc. They were saying that they import 25% of the parts they need to build the cars. And if they lose that, that's going to be a huge hit. They won't be building the cars, and the shortages we have today will go even worse.
Jeez,
aside from the odd car carrier that's burning out in the ocean, with all the Porsches on and the Lambos.
Now that's now okay. My tinfoil. Do you think? I mean, come on. How many of those cars have come across that way over the decades? Like, I mean, what could have happened? I mean, come on. I mean, that was just an accident. I'm asking. I'm just asking.
Oh boy. Do I need to get my tinfoil
Look, I
here?
put mine on. I put mine on. I freely admit it. But I'm like, how many millions of dollars is that on that boat?
It's a lot.
How much is it actually, or how much do they tell insurance?
The Lambos alone are millions.
Was there any investigation that they follow up with, like, what they thought might have been the problem?
I haven't heard.
Man, that's just.
I haven't heard.
Sometimes, not to put a damper on tinfoil hats, because there's plenty of them when it comes to the Tesla rumor mills. But I mean, sometimes things happen, right? Like sometimes things catch on fire.
Wiped out a bunch of Volkswagen ID4s and whatnot. Wiped out a bunch of,
I mean,
Porsches.
If we're gonna go that road, who did it benefit? I think it benefited Tesla.
I wonder who.
Yeah, I guess maybe Elon called in a favor.
Ouch. Well, you're a Jersey boy.
Of course not. Yeah, I'm from Jersey. I would have called my uncle. Like I would have been like,
"Hey, Mike, tie me two tones. Hey, come here."
I got a boat somewhere, and then like few months later, my uncle would be like, "Hey, I got a Lambo for real cheap if you want one."
That's
right. Like, how do we know they all burned up?
It's just a little dirty. Needs some cleaning.
Yeah, I know that there was a big, not to get off track, but in Jersey there was a big car ring up there at one point. They got busted like a few years ago. I mean, it was a huge car ring.
If there's crime, it's probably in Jersey. No, I'm just there's always something like that going on. I mean, it's right there near the major shipping ports, right? You've got all New York and everything, so there's all kinds of stuff.
But have you ever heard of a Tesla being stolen?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
and actually, I've heard of them stolen and seen them shipped overseas in cargo ships.
Really?
And they ship them taken apart, so they don't phone home.
So my question is, so how are they able to even, like, were the cars, were they?
It's parts. It's all about parts.
Wow. I would think that. So were they like stolen from someone's house or just from a warehouse someplace?
Couldn't
Oh, you,
tell you.
okay.
I know. Based on what I know about my own Tesla, I think it was probably a snatch and grab. Not so much a drive away.
There's been, there were the proof of concept, right? There was some security researchers. When was this? A year ago, maybe two. Like they did a whole thing on, oh, they can remotely access a Tesla and they can, get in. But I mean, that's true of most modern pieces of technology. If somebody's motivated, they could probably get there. But like, is that like, do you have to worry about your car getting boosted parking at the store? Like, no, not any more than any other car. Probably less than a lot of other cars.
I would say less. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say I worry more about my Audi than I worry about the Tesla.
Yeah,
Right.
I would agree with you on that. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Especially with Sentry mode on.
Hey,
That's a cool feature.
hey,
That's a
now
very cool
we
feature.
can see the cameras from the phone, which is pretty cool.
I do that all the time, actually.
Now, was it Blink or was it Amazon? Like last year or year before, they were supposed to come out with an add-on that you could put into the Tesla that allowed streaming of Sentry mode, and I guess it never came out. And I guess it doesn't matter because Tesla does it. But there was in 2020, I think, or 2021, Blink. I think they released a couple of things where. There was a drone for the house that could fly around on its own, and then they also had this module you can plug into the USB in the car, like a Raspberry Pi, but not necessarily Pi. And you could stream your cameras to a product. And so, of course, I signed up for it, but then nothing ever came of it. And then Tesla comes out with it. So, but I'm finally glad that they came out with it because that's really a big deal. I mean, I always thought that was a feature that should have been from day one once they got Sentry mode installed.
So here's a problem with that, and it's a personal observation of my own Tesla, and that is I love the streaming camera. I use it constantly. Trouble is, like we went to Palm Springs. There's a very good supercharger downtown Palm Springs by the I want to say the Hilton. That it might be the Hilton. Doesn't matter. Where the charging station's at is in the lowest level of the parking lot. Virtually no cellular coverage, which means no streaming. I can't even look at the status of my car.
Wow.
Because there's no coverage.
Wow.
And I think people kind of forget that because they're used to parking out in the open, and when they go into a building, it's kind of like, I can't get to my car. I can't do anything. I can't see it. And you start to twitch a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's probably going to be a problem that they'll work out, though, right? Like you used to not have cell coverage in a tunnel or on a public transit and other things, and they can do stuff to boost it. But like I think part of the problem is it's not that Tesla owns all of the all the charging stations. It's potentially deals with individual places.
So they could. Well, so I used to work in cellular.
Mm-hmm.
I used to work for a little tiny company. In cellular, it's got 3 initials now. But there are, we call them microcells, and they are expressly for this type of environment where you need to provide cellular for a very small environment, and it hooks into Wi-Fi in the building or hooks into the copper lines in the building or something and runs it through IP out to the internet. That could easily be done. And hey, Tesla, if you're listening, you might want to think about it. Could be a selling point.
Do you think that because I mean people hate Teslas and people hate Elon because of what he's doing. So do you think he's getting flack? Like he's been in the news recently for the stocks thing with him and his brother. So do you think he's from what I see, it looks like Elon doesn't care. Elon knows he's got a ton of cash and he can just say what he wants to say and people react to it. But I think that there's some people out there, some companies who kind of like, what, we don't want to help you out. You're already...
I think he does care, but not for the reason you said. It's not about the money. It's ego.
Oh, yeah.
I think he cares. If you hit the right button, I think he cares a lot. We've seen it where people will kind of Twitter and say, hey, that's how we end up with Joe mode. You know, they kill the volume. And, someone said, hey, this is bothering me. It's bothering my kids. They can't sleep. It wakes them up. He hit the right button. It's not about the money.
I think it's also part too, like, there's a common thing in engineering that's called like not invented here, right? That's syndrome. And I definitely have. I've never had this problem. No, throughout my career, it's always been a battle where you automatically assume that everyone else is dumb and they don't know how to do things as well as you. And if you just focused on it, you would do a better job because you're such a great engineer. So there's definitely some of that where Tesla could maybe be partnering or doing some things with other companies. But Elon is definitely in the camp of, no, we'll do it. We'll do a better job, which is how he gets into boring tunnels and doing rockets and everything. It's just like anything that's remotely a thing that he cares about. It's like, well, no one else will do this nearly as well. I'm going to do it. I think there's a part of that is also a factor.
I was just going to say that, most visionaries, and I consider Elon to be a visionary.
Agree.
He's the same old as Steve Jobs.
Agree.
I see a lot of the same traits between those two guys, actually. And it's kind of, well, I know better than everybody else, and that's just the way it is. I'm not sure engineering's got a lot to do with it. I think it's just, that's the way he's wired.
Yeah, yeah. I would love to be a fly on the wall, and Elon comes in. Yeah, can you give me this and this and this? And the engineer's like, sure, and he just like I was in the bathroom today. I scribbled this down. Make this work. Okay.
Yeah, it's that. It's. I want this. I want it next week. There's no question of can you. I want it next week. like I said, they're visionaries.
Yeah.
They're a very unique breed.
Yeah. They got their pros and cons to it. Yeah. But but still, what Elon has done from I never knew he existed until he sold PayPal. That's when I knew Elon was who he was. And then right after that, he started talking. I heard the Roadster, and then I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Let me. And then I saw the price. I was like, oh, well, that's obviously not for me. But from there, I would just see his progress and where he went. Like every now and then, I just see him. Just moving up, and then when I saw him in Jay Leno's garage with the I think it was the 3, was it? I forgot what he had, but I was like, wow, if he's on Jay Leno's garage, and obviously because Jay Leno's like the man in cars as far as I'm concerned. I mean, God knows so many things, but to see him bring, I think it might have been Model S, to bring it in, and he talked about it, and he gave the seal of approval. I was like, wow, this is pretty interesting that Jay Leno would sanction his car more or less. So from that point on, I was like, wow, what's going to come next? And then I heard the 3, and I was like, that's it. That's going to be his ticket to get into where he is now. Because good grief, man. People are buying those. That's why my car is delayed now, because all these people buying these cars because of the tax credit is out now, and my 3 gets pushed back. So.
There's too many people selling their cars to buy the new ones, so you're all in queue fighting over it for each other.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll take that one. Yeah. But it's a fun. At the end of the day, I will say this though, the driving my Model 3, it's fun. Every day I get in the car, it's just like I enjoy driving it. There's just nothing. I enjoy it. That's all I can say. It reinvented driving for me. I love traffic now. I don't mind being in traffic because it means I'm in my car longer. And I can put it in full self driving, and I'm still watching. I'm paying attention. But what I'm saying is that it can do some of the things that you don't necessarily have to worry about. And you can just kind of like enjoy. I can look through the roof and look at the mountains or whatever. Just kind of look at things you haven't done before. So it's really a very gratifying experience to get in the car. I just love it.
There's nothing like a Tesla. That's true. No other car out there at the moment, but they're coming.
They're coming. Yeah.
Tesla's gonna have some competition. They're coming.
But but the thing about I think Mike, you might have mentioned earlier. You're talking about I think there was a bill or something that was about the software updates. Now, the Tesla is a big iPad. It's a big iPad. So if that bill that you had mentioned about, if that came to fruition and became something like how would that? Because Tesla, more of their recalls, which I think it's a weird. When people say, "Ooh, a Tesla's recall," it's just like fodder for they're pieces of crap. But it's not that kind of a recall. It's like a software thing that they can change. But if that comes to pass, where they have to, where there's an issue with software updates, I mean, like that could could that do some harm to Tesla? Because that's the majority of their recalls are fixed via software updates, right?
So, yeah, well, actually, it gets really interesting because Tesla doesn't have dealers.
Right.
So the bill, it's called HB4560, and if there's a conflict of interest, it's who put the bill into play, and that's it's a legacy dealer trade association, and they're basically saying you can't do over-the-air updates. You have to bring your vehicle into the dealer and let the dealer do the update. And of course, what they're hoping for is there'll be a charge for that, and it gets you into the dealer, and then, oh, it's by the way, you need this done, you need that done. I got this other thing over here that needs to be done. Whether it need to be done or not is immaterial. They want you in the dealer, period. And Tesla doesn't have dealerships. They got service centers, a few of them, but they don't have dealers. They sell direct to the consumer, and some states won't even let them do that. So, I mean, it's a very targeted bill against the consumer, against consumer choice.
And where's the bill at? Which state is it in?
This is West Virginia.
West Virginia, okay.
And they haven't signed it, obviously. It just kind of leaked out like 3 or 4 days ago. And it remains to be seen what will happen. But I suspect even if they were to pass it, it would go into court immediately. And we would see what the lawyers could do with it.
Yeah, what do you think though? Do you think that it has a snowball's chance to pass? I mean, to me, I get how
lately.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I've seen some pretty weird crap pass lately that I wouldn't have thought would pass. So yeah, anything's possible. I mean, they can pass it. Doesn't mean it'll stick. Doesn't mean they can make it stick. But yeah, they can pass anything they want. That's part of legislation.
Yeah, yeah. When you mentioned it, I had read it and I was like, "Wow, that's But when you explained it just now, my tinfoil, like, oh, okay, I see where this is going, because if everything is like, hey, Steve, we realize that or hey, Lewis, we realize one of your matrix lights are not functioning properly. We're going to do an update. No worries. You don't have to come to the dealer. We'll take care of it. So you're like, oh, great. I'm in my bed. No problem. I see the email. I can go to sleep. Meanwhile, the dealer is like, I haven't seen a car in here in weeks, and I'm struggling and whatever. So I get where it's going.
A good portion of it.
I mean, I'll just throw out there as the non-tinfoil guy. When it comes to the legislature, tinfoil is justified. So I think I'm probably on your side in this one.
Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you.
Right, exactly.
I don't know. That's it's kind of like because in music there's we call them patent trolls, and what they do is they listen to music and try to find samples, because I sample a lot of stuff in music I do, and some of the stuff it's the copyright is off of it, so it's free reign. But some things there's you don't know if someone owns it or not. You do your due diligence to try to figure it out. But then there's people who will listen to music and then they just go out and say, hey, this person's using 2 seconds of your song. So there's like people that's just waiting to just try to pounce on something because they want to make money from it.
Of course they do. And patent trolls are not unique to music.
Software patent trolls and
software, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know there's like a building. I know someone who was what do you call them? They're a paralegal, I guess, in a sense, that worked in this office suite, and all they did was they looked through old patents of things. And their job was to go look at some libraries to get some kind of documentation for them. But that's all this company did, was just look for patent infringement and then try to go out and try to, I guess, scare or talk to the person.
I was going to say, half the time it's not even patent infringement. It's just a threat.
Yeah.
And the company looks at it from bottom line and says, I can pay this idiot, $100,000 and they go away quietly, or I can fight them and spend 500,000 and win, but I've lost because I spent all that money.
I wish I could be that idiot sometimes, but I just like.
Yeah,
I'm so against the concept. I couldn't do it even to make the money. It's not how I'm wired.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. All right, so that was our first ever podcast, first of many to come. I had a wonderful experience with Louis and Mike tonight. These guys are phenomenal. They taught me some things I didn't know, and I hope that they taught you guys some things you may have not known or things you might want to know more about. So we're going to have more of these coming. We recommend that you go to our forum, TeslaMotorsClub.com, and there's lots of stuff there that we didn't even get a chance to talk about tonight. But if there's a question you might want to ask for a future podcast, feel free to reach out to one of the forums there. I think hopefully we'll try to get the owners to put like a little section where they can go and put these things in, but we'll see. But from myself, Mike, and Louis, we really appreciate you guys for hanging out with us tonight. We're going to be back again. We're just getting started. It's about to be off the chain. I'm going to holler at y'all. See y'all soon. Take care.